Yeah, Uncle Steve and Roe, welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome to the John Rondi Show. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. It's great being here. It's great to see Steve.
Always great to see Uncle Steve. So Roe was part of the first class of women state troopers, correct?
Yeah.
And you were the official third woman to.
Yeah, my class was the third group. A woman came on in 1975, 76, and then another woman came on in 78 in a class of men. And then after a consent decree from the federal government, the colonel at the time, Clint Pagano, said, I'm just going to have a class of women. He modeled it after the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and had a whole class of women.
Really? What made you want to be a state trooper?
Exactly. That's a great question. So I was a student athlete. I was going to college, playing basketball, softball, and tennis. And my landlord at the time was the fire chief in Montclair. And he gave me a flyer because this was 1979. There was no internet or Indeed posting. So he said, oh, take this test. So I told my dad. My dad was a NORC cop. And he was like, oh, I don't know about the state police. NORC PD's better, but they weren't hiring. So I grabbed a friend of mine. We went and took the test. The next thing you know, we were in the process.
Really?
Yeah.
How was it difficult?
Yeah. Well, you had to take a written test, which was the hardest part. Not being a great student.
Yeah.
So you had to take the written test, and then if you passed that, then you had to go take a physical, which was like running, shuttle runs. I forget what were the other tests. You had to run back and forth.
It was shuttle runs, push-ups, sit-ups.
Sit-ups. Right, so because this was a class of women, the only modification they made were with
Pull-ups.
chin-ups.
Yeah. The push-ups, though, no?
No push-ups. You had to do men's push-ups.
Really?
And women's, yeah.
And as many as the men had to do?
Yeah, you had to do, I think it was like 32 in 2 minutes.
30, yeah.
So I would do like 16 men's push-ups, and I would lay down, and then I would do 16 more and bang out the 32.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
And then chin-ups is almost impossible for women to do.
So it was a slanted chin-up. So your heels were on the ground.
Okay.
And you had the chin-up bar here.
Right.
So it made it a lot easier because your heels were in the ground. So you can do the chin-ups. That was the only modification. And really, that was the only difference that we had between like what the males did.
How'd they treat you, the men?
At first, listen, there was good guys and bad guys, I always say, in the academy. And Steve knows, whether you're a male or a female, there's just some angry instructors out there that get sent there just to piss people off, right? And but we had some really good instructors because they knew that they were like a part of history, and it was up to them to train us, because if God forbid something happened when we graduated and we were poorly trained in that, it would fall back on them. So I think it was horrible. He knows. You get up in the middle of the night, take your mattress, and run to the beach with this floppy mattress on your head. Right?
Just anything they could do to torture you and just break you down.
Yeah.
And then they build you up.
Correct.
Yeah. But it seems like they treated you both the same.
Yeah, like shit.
Yeah. Which is good. You want that. You don't want them to coddle you.
We loved it. We loved it.
No, they weren't, and I knew that, that they weren't going to coddle the women.
No, you can't.
Because, I remember the women that were in my class. They weren't coddled.
Oh, you had women in your class?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. After that, it went mixed.
Now, how do they deal with, because I know there's some, we don't call it an event, like where you guys are wrestling one another. Are you going against women in these certain things?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you had ground wrestling, and you had boxing. You had to box 8 matches. I don't know how long they were, but you had 8 bouts. And then you had ground wrestling.
Minutes.
And you go against girls?
Well, not me.
No. Good.
No, I'm kidding. No, there were.
He had an exemption because he's so nice.
No, they just. It sucked. Like you saw. You see a girl fighting a guy, and the guy's beating the shit out of her, and it's like. But then sometimes, you get a girl that can fight.
Oh, really?
And if you're that guy getting your, that's a whole different set of problems that you have.
Tough look for the guy.
Yeah.
So which unit were you on initially?
I'm sorry?
Which unit were you on?
Oh, when I came out of the state police? Well, everybody has to go on the road. So everybody has to be in uniform. So my first station was Troop B, which is North Jersey, Blairstown. And then I went to Washington Station. And then I went to Somerville Station. And then I went to Colts Neck, which was down
Okay.
Central Jersey.
Two stations that aren't even there anymore.
Oh,
Why?
Blairstown
feel
doesn't
old.
exist. Nah,
now it's
listen.
Hope.
Blairstown's Hope. That was my first station. And Colts Neck. There's no Colts Neck.
Really?
Well, it was kind of at the Jersey Shore, and there's a lot of municipal police departments there, so they only had one state highway, 18, so it was a quiet place.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So how was the highway? Was it what you thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised in Newark, so when my first station was Blairstown, and myself and another classmate of mine, Debbie Dunn, who was from North Plainfield, we had to go to Blairstown. I didn't even know where it was. I thought I was in like Montana.
Yeah.
Because I never left Essex County.
Right,
so
right.
here I am driving out Route 80, driving. I get off on this Route 94. We're driving. I'm looking for like the impressive state police barracks that you always see. And the barracks was above an electrical store, and it just had a little triangle in the window that said state police. That's
way.
how rural it was out there.
That's insane.
That's insane.
How did the public treat you guys? Like was the thought of a female trooper or police woman even
Right.
that was still fairly new for everybody, correct?
Yeah, I mean, percentage-wise in the country, it was very, very low,
Right.
you know? But there was a lot of women in the city agencies, like Newark, NYPD.
Yeah.
They were great about it, LAPD. Not too much with the state police, and nobody really knows why. I mean, we had a residential academy, 26 weeks, so that kind of kept a lot of people out if they had children or, you know, other obligations. But, you know, it wasn't so bad. You know?
Yeah.
You do the 26 weeks. But then I was in Colts Neck, and then you were able to apply for different assignments. So everybody has to do on average about 4 to 5 years on the road before you can apply for something else.
Mm-hmm.
So
You did 4 years on the road.
5.
5 years.
Yeah.
Did they respect you when you got pulled over, or were they like?
Yeah, that's right. I didn't answer that question,
okay.
and I've only had 2 sips of beer, so let's
That's
go.
okay. That's okay.
Wait till you have 3.
So
beers
some
total.
some people would assume that you were a male because you know you had the ugliest haircut you could have because you basically went to Frank the Barber on the weekends
Right.
and got your hair cut. So you'd go up to a car and they would be like, "Oh, sir," and then they would see you. And it wasn't so bad. I mean, people got used to it. People thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But people will do anything to get out of a ticket. So if it meant, saying, "Oh, you look so sharp," they would say anything to get out of a ticket.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. I would have thought the opposite. I would have thought people would be like, who should think she's pulling me over right now?
Yeah. I mean, but people try anything to get out of a ticket, right?
Very
so, and they thought you were a guy. And actually, I always found that drunk females were the worst people in the world.
The worst.
Thank God I've never been one. And drunk men, for some reason, would most times be gentlemanly about it, right? They wouldn't forget that sense of, "Sorry, ma'am," even though they just peed themselves on the side of the road during a sobriety test, right?
So that's interesting.
Right.
That men almost like calm themselves down a bit when they see a female trooper.
Maybe. Still going to jail.
It doesn't matter. You were a stickler with the tickets. You're not giving it. You were a stickler with the tickets.
No, never. You know, and like people always say, "Oh, there's a quota." There's no quota, but you have to show what work you did for the 8 hours that
Right,
you're
you
on
gotta
patrol.
work.
So if you came in and said, "Oh, there was no speeders and anything else," no one would believe that, right? Especially I was on Route 80.
Yeah.
So you had to have something on your patrol chart, and you could write a warning. I mean, you had to gauge the person. If a person was humble, you know, you could give them a warning. You could look things up, but we didn't have a lot of technology then.
Yeah.
We had 3 channels on the radio. We had no walkie-talkies. We didn't have tasers, right?
What'd you carry? What kind of gun?
We carried a 6-shot Ruger with a 4-inch barrel and 30 bullets in a bandolier, which gives away our age, but that's okay.
Like a cowboy.
Yeah,
That is
She was like a
that is
cowboy.
insane.
It was Wrangler Jane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a little scary
Right.
though.
Yeah, and you wear state police prohibited speed loaders, right? Which is like 5 bullets in this little thing, and you could just drop it in the barrel.
Cool, yeah, I
not in
gotcha.
the barrel, in the
Yeah.
gun.
Interesting.
But we weren't allowed to have them. They did give you a baton, but it was like the length of your leg, so you really weren't going to take that out of the
They
car.
had like a nightstick.
Yeah, we
They
didn't
did?
have. It was a tan baton.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Did you ever use it?
Huh?
Did you ever use it?
I can't say.
You can.
Yes, you can.
You definitely can. No, I'm
Statute of
kidding.
limitations. Then. Of course, you crack somebody in the head
Listen,
with a
you got to do what you got to do. You're working. It's your job at that point.
Yeah.
So 5 years goes by.
It does have some dents and some DNA on it. I will say that. That's
There you
why I
go.
kept it when
There
I
we go.
retired.
Hell yeah. 5 years on the road, and then you go to which unit after that?
Well, unfortunately, I got hit by a car
Oh, shit.
on 287 when I was stationed at Somerville. I was investigating an accident, and it was icy, wintertime. This guy spun out of control and clipped me pretty bad and flung me over the guardrail. Well, luckily, I had my my bulletproof vest on, and because that saved me from further injury and probably death. But so I was in and out of work for like
Wow.
9 months, having surgeries and stuff, and then came back to work. They have a thing called light duty where you don't go out on the road.
Right.
You help out in the station. And then I started putting in for investigative jobs. So, yeah, that was after Cold Snack. At first, I went to the racetrack unit because at the racetrack unit, because the state regulates it, they have to have detectives there that investigate fixed races and crimes on the backside, like where all the horses and the grooms and the hot walkers. That's like a little town. So you're basically the police chief of that area.
Is that like that's where like the jockeys stay, whatever?
Yeah. Yeah, the jockeys are there and the people that take care of the horses.
Right.
In these little tiny rooms at the end of the barn stables.
Yeah, I've seen that
Very
when I was at
strange.
Saratoga.
That must be some crew there.
Oh yeah, real upstanding citizens back there. Let me tell you.
What kind of crime were they committing back there?
Mostly drunkenness, fights, couple drugs, occasional murder, or you find somebody dead. Find a lot of people dead just from drinking, passing out. Some guy got killed. A horse reared up and hit him in the chest.
Yeah.
Dead. And then there's fixed races, right? So you have to investigate these fixed races.
Yeah. Who's normally fixing these races?
Well, in Freehold, Monmouth Park is the thoroughbred horses, right? And Freehold, because they're seasonal. Freehold, those trotters with the little sulky cart behind them. So that's easy to fix those races because it goes by the guy driving the sulky, right? So he says today, Steve, you're up. Ro, you're in second. Right. John, you're in third.
Really?
And then we have somebody make our bets.
Well,
for
you ever
us.
see those guys in those things? You see them sometimes running the whole race, pulling back on the horse.
I've never
I
noticed
still
stuff like
think
that.
they're fixed. Like,
Still?
who the hell even
Yeah,
goes
because
to
nothing's
those?
really changed. So if you're just an average bettor and you happen to pick that winning combination of numbers, you're good.
Yeah.
Some people, it's like an art and a science to them.
Yeah.
So we would have to investigate and interview the jockeys and the drivers, and they did a lot of like piss testing for drugs.
Really?
Yeah. We would get guys in sometimes. I remember one time we had a guy in, he was a suspect almost in every fixed race. So they tested his urine and turned out he used his girlfriend's urine. Those drivers, they wear like a jumpsuit and they got all these pockets. So he had his girlfriend's urine in a vial, goes in. And so we brought him in and I was a detective and my sergeant sat there and he said to him, well, got good news and bad news. The bad news is you're suspended from racing for 6 months. The good news is you're having a baby. He's like, you have
Crazy.
female urine.
Yeah. Oh, so they knew. Wow. Does the mob get involved with fixing races at all?
Oh, probably. There's always somebody's got to supply the money, right? Somebody's got to back this. Somebody's got to okay it and give it their blessing. So
Right.
in a lot of ways, there was, because that was more like the ownership too. There was a lot of connections to the mob with ownerships of horses because it's a good way to probably, hide or launder money.
Sure, buying a horse.
Right.
Pretty expensive.
Right. And then just all your expenses go to that horse.
Yeah. How long are you working the tracks for?
That was on and off for about a year or so.
Okay. And then after that, where do you go?
So then I had put in another guy that I worked with, Billy Turner. He and I both put in for the investigation section, which is everything investigative that the state police does. So we got sent to the organized crime unit, and then that merged into the narcotics unit. So we spent a couple years in organized crime. Not in organized crime, but in the unit.
That's got to be interesting.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
I actually went on raids where I saw guys that I grew up with in my neighborhood in Newark, which was kind of funny.
What part of Newark?
Vailsburg.
Oh, Vailsburg.
Yeah.
And they were part of the organized crime.
Yeah, it was like a gambling raid,
Yeah.
because back in the day it was big, people doing numbers, right?
Yeah.
You know how that works. You just pick the number based on the track, the race
Right.
tracks,
What was it,
money
last
results,
three
the last
numbers
three
or-
numbers. So if the track took in $1,000,000, $23, then 023 was the number. And you would look in the paper and you would bet with your bookie. And if that was the number, you would get paid.
Yeah.
That's what running. I've never.
Yeah.
I never knew what
It's
running
different than
numbers
like
meant.
that's the numbers. Yeah, it's based, and you got to pick the track. So let's say it's freehold, and you bet with your bookie freehold, $5, and you pick 1, 2, 3, and that's the number for the day. You win.
So that's what the people say when
Yeah.
they say I'm
Running
running numbers.
numbers.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You're just like side betting on this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, then there's the other bookmaking, like football tickets, like that was basically all
Yeah.
illegal too.
Making football tickets.
Yeah, like it's like a football. It's like a white sheet.
Yeah.
He's
Where
acting
you're
like he
picking
never
games.
Saw one. He's
Yeah,
acting
no,
like he never saw
yeah,
one.
now you're full of shit. Come on. You can't be that young.
First of all, I'm not that young.
You never bet. Wait a second.
No, because you can bet online now.
I bet
with
all
those-
my gambling is on the phone.
So you can go to DraftKings.
Yeah, but you never saw.
Was that a commercial now for DraftKings?
Yeah, don't go free plug.
like a ticket where you're picking teams.
No.
And then you.
So it was a ticket
I'm old
and have
tech.
all the NFL games. And
Right.
you pick the teams that you want. You could pick the over-under, stuff like that.
Just
total
like you do
points.
online.
Right, I can
except
imagine
with
And
when
you
I
put
can
your
envision
name,
it.
so you would have a name, like,
Right.
Like
Yeah.
Joey, whatever. And you would hand it into your bookmaker, and they would take all the slips, tally them up, and if you hit all yours, you would collect.
Yeah.
And if you didn't pay, they just break your legs.
All right. Yeah.
Not a bad deal.
No.
Yeah. So I did a lot of the undercover work I did was related to that.
We were just talking about going undercover and the reality of it. Like, I'm sure you experienced it where you would have somebody undercover. Did you ever lose them? Like they then became friends with these people that they were undercover with, and
Oh, you're talking like the Stockholm syndrome,
yeah,
like where
yeah.
So that's something different. Like so, undercover work. So initially, somebody would say, "Hey, you and Steve, you go to this bar and you hang out like boyfriend and girlfriend, and you're going to try and buy drugs from this guy, Joe, who's sitting at the end of the bar."
Right.
So that's just like a one-off. And then you make your buy, you walk out. I used to have a baseball hat. I would take the hat off, and they'd go in and lock the guy up. That's just like an undercover
Yeah, sure.
buy bust, right? Then there's, more long-term stuff. And like I did an undercover job with a detective named Mike Bohm, who was a great undercover guy. And we spent almost a year hanging out at this bar I think we were in Kenilworth, and we were just getting friendly with everybody. So we were gambling. And then you would call a number, right? Like from a payphone, you know what that is, right?
Yeah.
So you would make a phone call and you would say, this is Rosie for Steve. And that was your code name. And I want to bet on the Miami Dolphins to beat the Jets, because they usually do. And then you would make your bet. And now let's say you win or lost. Depending on, you go meet your guy at the bar and you pay up or he pays you.
Right.
So that's how that works. So we were doing that, Mike and I. And then we step it up and we wear a wire or something. And the goal is to get a wiretap going on the criminal enterprise, because you don't want the bookmakers. You want the mob guy controlling everything.
Sure.
Right? So we would, make our bets. Then I remember one time we bought a gun. Then we tried to buy drugs. A little bit. So we did a whole thing. And so then we set up a thing with customs where we had a fake, we had a fake apartment that people could come to and buy stolen goods from us. And we had like knockoff stuff that customs would give us, like fake Louis Vuitton bags. And they would come to our apartment. They would sell our stuff. We would film them.
What?
It was pretty funny, And then after a while, now the big bosses were getting involved because there was a lot of money going back and forth. So eventually, after about 6-9 months, they, start to make this tree of, the bosses. You had your bookmaker, but then he's got to turn the money over to somebody. He's got to turn it over to somebody. So the key is to get to the head guy.
Right.
So, then we go on we have this raid, and I forget where we were, what state police barracks. They lock everybody up, and they bring this one guy in who was like the main guy. And him and I were so friendly, right? His name was Dick, and he knew me as Rosie. So my lieutenant was like so pissed off. So we're walking down, and he sees me, and the lieutenant grabbed. I didn't like doing this, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I loved the undercover stuff because it was fun, but I don't want to put in somebody's face that, you know, you moron, this girl's been playing you for 6 months. So lieutenant grabs him by the arm, brings me in, and the guy goes, "Let the girl go." So he thought that I got arrested.
Oh no!
He thought that I got arrested with them, and he looks at the lieutenant, he goes, "Let the girl go." And I was like, "Oh my God." And
You
then,
feel
of
so
course,
bad.
he ruined him, said, "Oh, this is Detective Manghisi." And then the guy was like, and then he knew he was toast.
Yeah. And do you know which crime family he was part of?
Lucchese.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane. It took
Yeah.
it took you guys 9 months of doing, or 6 months of doing. Like, how do you get
I
away
think
with?
that's pretty quick.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, there were some like Bob Delaney. He was a famous Jersey trooper, and then
Yeah.
he became an NBA ref. He was deep undercover, like living places, you know?
Right. We were asking ourselves, how do you get away with, like, you're doing illegal things?
I didn't do anything illegal. I mean, like I was just facilitating it. We're conducting our investigation to uncover, you know, the crimes that they were committing. So we
Right.
were just participating, you
Yeah.
know. But if he's willing to sell me a gun, you know, you can act in an undercover capacity. That's not illegal.
That's not okay.
No.
But now, what if, like you mentioned, this guy that was really undercover for years on end, and they start asking him to do things that
Right.
are illegal?
Yeah, you got to be careful about what you do, and you know, it's probably good to get the attorney general's permission, so you know they don't come after you.
That makes
you know,
sense.
Like
But
people would say,
there's
hey,
got to be like
people would say, "You want to smoke pot?" You know, like if I was buying drugs, I was like, "Nah, you know, I work at the hospital and they drug test us." You know, like you got to come up with an excuse,
Something like that.
or
yeah.
just be honest. Sometimes I would just say, I don't do the drugs. I just sell them."
Yeah, it's a good line. So, what was like the longest stint you went on undercover? Like 6 months is a long time, but
Yeah, I think this was like 9 months, maybe 6-9 months. That was a long time,
Yeah.
you know. But like there was other things we did in between because it would be like the guy would call you on Wednesday and say, "Hey, you know, we got a shipment of purses coming into Port Newark. You want them?" And we'd go there Thursday, and then we spend Friday and the next week doing our reports. So it's not like every day we were
got
doing
it.
it.
Yeah, you're not.
And we
just
had
doing
other
that.
investigations. I was like kind of doing everybody's undercover work, you know.
But mainly with the mob.
Yeah, later in my career, there was more work related to gangs and stuff, but I didn't get too involved in that.
No.
No.
Which gangs were you involved with?
I don't even know what gangs they were.
Oh, really?
You know,
Well, and what is the difference normally between the crime that each of these gangs are committing, or are they all kind of doing the same thing?
no, I think gangs got more into the drug trade. The mob had their hands in a lot of different things. You know, they were criminal enterprises. Some of them had legitimate businesses like restaurants or stuff like that. But they were, you know, guns, gambling, extortion, loan sharking. I did about a 2-month job. I had to work in a bakery, which was horrible. I gained like 10 pounds. So this guy owed the mob like $40,000 and he didn't pay them. So they shot a bullet through his bedroom window of his house. So that freaked his wife out. She was all pissed off. She made him go to state police. So he became like, you know, an informant. So he owned a bakery and it was a great bakery. Everybody loved it. And I went there to work as his niece. So I actually had to work. I had to be there at like
What?
5 a.m. I'm making the cannolis. I'm making, you know.
Not bad. You learned how to
I know,
make some
but I
stuff.
learned how to eat them too. I was
Yeah,
eating
sure.
the pinoli cookies all day. I had to work the register. And these guys would come in and they would just open up the register and take the money. Now, we had an outlet in the wall and it was wired, you know. So it heard everything they had, and we had a camera hidden in something, like a loaf of bread, maybe. I don't know. But so these guys would come in, you know, I acted like this dumb college kid, and they would say shit like, be a shame if something happened to your uncle. And I'd be like, oh my God, what are you talking about? And, you know, they said, oh, your uncle's got to pay his bills. And I go, well, he didn't pay? And they'd be like, "Oh no, he owes a lot of money. You know, he's gonna get his legs broken." I was like,
would say
"Oh
this to
my
you?
god, yeah!" Because they were just, and they would just like, I remember them opening up the refrigeration unit and just stealing boxes of frozen ravioli,
That's so
taking money out of the
crazy.
register. It just went on and on and on, and then finally they all, got arrested. And I gained like 10 pounds.
What was the
Eating
last
all this
straw?
shit.
Like, because you obviously knew they were mob affiliated. So what was the last straw for them to finally get booked?
Yeah, no, that's a good question because, you were just a detective, right? So you were just reporting everything you saw. They had recordings. Maybe they would step up and now get a wiretap on somebody's house phone and maybe hear everything they're talking about. But those decisions were made by like the Attorney General's office or the county prosecutor, because sometimes we did like partnerships, with
Right.
county prosecutors and stuff like that.
You were just doing your job at that point.
Yeah. And you just do the best job you can to report, what you're doing.
That's so funny. They had you working.
Oh, yeah. I had another one. I had to work at a hotel as like a front desk clerk, and another detective, Debbie Dunn, had to be a server, right? And they had these mob guys sat at the same table every day. And those ceramic sugar bowls? You have the packets?
Yeah.
So they would put a listening device in the bottom. And typical wise guys, what they do when they wanted to say something, like illegal, they would all do this. And they would lean in.
That's pretty funny.
But her job was to get there early enough in the morning to change the battery in the bug.
Oh my God.
And then get it at the end of the day. And like once in a while, another server would be cleaning the table and take that sugar bowl and move it somewhere else. And Debbie had to run and get it and move it back for the next day. This went on and on. Those guys talked about everything into that bug. That was they were talking about people they were going to whack, everything.
It's almost like too easy.
I know, because they felt safe there. They sat
so
at this corner
crazy.
table.
That's why they didn't even like check. They weren't.
They
checking.
even gave her a $500 tip at Christmas, and I said, "You got to turn it in because it's on the wire."
No way. Oh, that sucks. I'm surprised you never wanted to get involved with the. No.
He would be so good at it.
I know.
Why? Steel balls they got.
Yeah, so do you, man. You would have been great. I think you would have ran the risk of them
I
getting.
never. You know what? I remember one guy talked to me about something in organized crime, and I'm like, how would I even do that? Because, well, like for you too, you grew up in Essex County. You grew up, and even for her, even more, where she grew up, there are a lot of big names that came out of Valesburg that were mob guys.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot of the killers
Yeah.
came out of Valesburg.
Yeah.
So you never had an issue with that, like them knowing who you were?
No. So that one raid I went on, I saw this guy who actually, him and his brother lived next door to me. And I saw one of the detectives questioning him about his name. And his name was Glenn. And he had his brother Anthony's ID. And I went over and I said to the detective, "That's Glenn, just so you know," because they live next door to me
Wow.
in Newark. And I walked over, I go, "Hey, Glenn." And he was like, eh.
That's pretty
So he
funny.
knew he was done.
Yeah.
But the funniest one was there was a guy in my neighborhood. My dad was a cop in Newark, and my uncle and my brother-in-law. And we weren't allowed to play with certain kids, like because they were, had a mob last name, even though maybe they weren't mobsters at the age of 10, but
You never know.
you can't play with this one, that one. So one guy, I knew him, George, go on a raid. Every time I saw him, he would say, "Hey, Ro, how's your parents?" I go, "Good, George. How's your parents?" He go, "Good. Nice to see you, Ro." Now I go on a raid. Here's George. He comes over. I go, "Hey, George, how's your parents?" He goes, "Good, Ro. How's your parents?" I go, "Good." And he goes to the guy, "Put her handcuffs on me. I know she won't hurt me." So I go, "Come on, George." And he was a bookmaker.
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
a low-level bookmaker. But then George went really high up
Oh.
in the Tessetta organization, and actually became a maid guy, did the whole thing. Then I get transferred later in my career to the witness relocation unit, a very busy place if you're in New Jersey. And who do I have to relocate? George.
George kept coming around.
I see George. "How's your family?" "Well, good." "How's your family, George?" He goes, "Where are we going?" I said, "Wherever you want, George. You got to pick a place to go." And
Well, how does that work?
So the state had a witness relocation program, and you have to have buy-in from the federal government, and you got to give them, let's say, enter an agreement, and they have to give testimony and evidence. They can't bullshit their way through it. It's a whole process. They have to have substantial evidence. It has to be proven. Trial, and then you get relocated. So you would get a new Social Security card, driver's license, birth certificate. You pick a place to go. If you have children, that's a problem. Like George said, you have to get, school records
Right.
and relocate them to an area where, you can't send them to Chicago, where they would just start up again. So you got to send them to some remote areas. And they would get a stipend, get some money, but, it was worth it for the state and for the federal government to get such incriminating evidence because they had to wear a wire, which, in the mob, you get caught with that wire.
Yeah, you're done.
Okay, so you caught George doing certain things, mob affiliated, to say, listen,
Oh, yeah.
here's your out, and he took the out.
Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't his handler.
Okay, you weren't.
No,
Gotcha.
I only had him to relocate him.
And you guys found out that he was a made man because he told you all this, or you?
Yeah, there's
Okay.
evidence of it.
And what does that actually entail, becoming a made man in the mob?
Just like in the movies.
Really?
They burn the paper, the oath of omerta. They burn the paper and all that other stuff.
Really? So it is.
I don't
it is
think
accurate.
they all practice it.
Yeah.
I think some of the
I don't know.
old school guys
That's like
probably
an
do.
old school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like, when Joe Pesci gets whacked because he thought he was going to get made, but that
Exactly.
didn't work out.
Yeah.
Didn't work
Oh
out.
shit.
Walked in on plastic.
Yeah. Well, so okay, George. I wonder. I mean, you may not know what finally happened to him. That they said, "Hey, you're either going to do a lot of serious time, or you're going to come with us." And
Yeah, and he did. He
he
became
did.
a state
Do you know what he
witness.
did that they finally caught him?
Well, he was involved in, heavy duty loan sharking, probably some, serious assaults and murders and things like that.
How often were these guys snitching?
It took a lot,
It
right?
did.
It took a lot for them to snitch. Probably the weaker, lower level guys, they snitch the minute they get caught with a bookmaking slip, right? But these other guys, they were like steel traps, I would say,
Really?
Yeah, I had a case, I was involved in the Scarfo case. That was the guy from Philly, Nicky Scarfo. He had an underboss who, was drunk all the time and did a lot of stupid things. So they were going to whack him. And then somebody approached them and said, hey, you're going to get whacked unless you turn state's evidence and then we'll protect you. And then they did.
Oh, the
So-
police approached him and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
Well, they were the most organized crime group ever,
Yeah.
right? Scarfo.
Yeah.
In Philly.
can you
Yeah.
explain that?"
Well, they didn't have good structure, right? Like, I hate to say it, but some mob groups are, they have their own code. Like, you got to get permission to whack somebody. You got to give so much to John, so much to Steve, right? They had their code. I think Philadelphia was a little loosely organized, so I think there was a lot of killings.
And he just killed everybody.
Yeah.
Like his answer to a problem was kill him,
Yeah.
which made the people working for him very uncomfortable because this guy was just killing everybody,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So this guy was underneath Scarfo.
Yeah, and he wound up becoming a state witness and getting relocated, and that helped the prosecutors. Nothing better than having the number two of a syndicate, right?
Right.
Testifying because they know everything.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
And what family were they a part of?
Scarfo. I don't.
Yeah, I think he had
know
his
what-
own.
Yeah.
He might have been under somebody's umbrella, but
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you didn't deal with Philly gangs that often, did you?
No, not like the drug gangs.
Yeah.
No. But some of the Scarfo stuff, touched
Bled
Jersey
into-
and Atlantic City.
It was all in Atlantic City, right?
Yeah,
Like they ran
Atlantic
Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, 'cause it's so close to Philly.
Right. Who were the most powerful families at the time that you were investigating?
Probably Lucchese.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Just by numbers? 'Cause there's-
Gambino, New York. Like sometimes we would do surveillance. They would take us to New York and we would, co-op with NYPD's organized crime unit, and they would do the same with us.
Did you ever have to deal personally with some of the head bosses?
No, only, to relocate them.
Yeah.
Like George was a high-ranking person when he got relocated, and so was Scarfo's number two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was he when you started to relocate him?
they're not used to living normal lives. You know, everything is, they got cash everywhere, and you know, they just don't know how to live like normal lives.
Yeah.
Just like Goodfellas. When Henry Hill is out there in Arizona and he's getting his paper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now just I'm a regular schlub.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Those movies are accurate, huh?
Yeah. I mean, at one point they were regular people.
Right.
You know, and then like George and I always said, George says, my father was a mobster, your father was a cop. You know?
Just different
We
sides
just-
of the wall.
Followed in their footsteps.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So now you said you were on investigations. Is narcotics a separate unit? Like you were then narcotics after this, or this was at the
Yeah,
same
then
time?
I was in narcotics after organized crime. I spent a lot of years there.
How many years?
God, I think about over 10.
Really?
Yeah.
And what did that entail?
A little bit of everything, you know. Listen, everybody, when you're young on the job, you're sitting on a wiretap. There is nothing exciting about that.
Yeah.
You're just sitting on this wiretap waiting to hear something that's significant that you could pass on to the detective. So there's a lot of that. Then there's surveillance, also another boring thing,
Yeah.
right? You sit there on surveillance just waiting for this door, waiting for that door to open up. But then sometimes you get to, you know, go buy drugs and things like that. A lot of it's just buy bust things like we talked about earlier. Or then we would, if we didn't want to burn our investigation, that's when like you and I met, like Steve, put a uniform on, get in a marked car and just go pull that car over.
Okay, because you had the evidence. You then
Right.
sent him to do.
So like
So that person just thinks they're getting pulled over.
right.
so I was on the turnpike.
Yeah.
And our station, we had a call from these guys, and they would go, "Hey, you got this car, this plate coming down. We need somebody to make a stop." So it's easy to pull a car over for doing something wrong because everybody does something wrong just driving down the road.
Sure.
So now you pull it over, and they already told you, "Well, look, there's something in the car. We don't know where it is, but just go in and do your thing and look for it." And I remember the one that I got a couple from the, I guess it was Hotel Motel,
Yeah, that was our squad.
and they turned out nothing. And I was like, these fucking Hotel Motel people, what the fuck? Were they stupid? And then we get one. I'll never forget this one. It came down. It was this guy in a suit. A woman was dressed. They were older. They were either Cuban or Colombian. They were driving like a Jeep, and got the guy out of the car. I start going through the car, and again, it's going through my head. I'm like, this freaking Hotel Motel unit. What are they talking about?
Third time's a charm.
Third time was a charm, because I go through everything in his car, and then he had these tablecloths, and I took a tablecloth pack and I threw it, and I'm like, that felt heavy, and I'm like, and I looked, and it wasn't serrated, it was taped. I'm like, and I'm looking at him as I'm holding it, and his head goes down. I'm like, all right, here it is.
That's awesome.
It was like $375,000
Yeah.
that he had in the car,
Yeah.
all just in.
And they would give you a
tablecloths.
consent to search. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like we did anything illegal.
Well, I was going to ask that. Like, so how did you get the consent to search?
I just asked.
And why would he not just say no?
Because they think they're getting away with it because they had it secreted.
He had it all, but then as I started like looking, he had money shoved in like jacket pockets, and I just think about it. Where are you going to put $375,000?
Now, having cash alone in the car is not probable
Well-
cause, correct?
But step 2 of that, so Steve does his thing,
Right.
gets all that. Ask him where you going with all this money, right?
Yeah,
And then
there's
they would
more
get-
to it.
Right, for sure.
There's another investigation going on. There could be information from a wiretap, but then we would bring out like a canine, and canine narcotic detection dogs would, react to the car because maybe the drugs are in the car and the drugs are in close proximity to the money
Yeah.
when deals are being, set up. So that would give us the opportunity to seize the funds.
Yeah, okay.
And then
No
it's-
one ever comes back for it. I can
right,
tell you that.
and then
much.
it's like, whose money is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And they never come for the money, but like those two people going home, and they go home,
Yeah.
right? They get to leave.
They just want a receipt. Like every
They just
time
want
we
a
ever
receipt.
took money from people, obviously, you got to count it, make copies, everything. And we had this receipt, and the green copy was the copy you give to the person. They go, I got to have that copy.
Yeah.
Because if they go back to, let's say they were working for the cartel, they're in trouble.
They need that green copy to make sure that the other money's gone.
They're probably getting their hand cut off. But
Yeah.
Better than the throat cut.
Yeah.
Not our problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you deal with anything nasty like that, like the cartel?
No, we knew stuff, was connected to the cartel, but we never, like we were kind of like, we would do like quick hits. Like, it's like that show now, How to Catch a Smuggler.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we did, the hotel motel squad. There were certain indicators of people traveling, paying cash for their plane tickets, having luggage that had nothing in it. So we would train hotel staff to look for these indicators.
Really?
And that's how, you would find out some of this stuff. And we, seized a lot. Like one time we had and sometimes we would get tips, we would work with like maybe the DEA or something. And we would, because we could do things they couldn't do and vice versa. Like DEA couldn't get a person in uniform to go stop a car, right? And we couldn't access some of the databases that they had. So we had to work together, with other agencies in spite of what people say. We always had good rapport with them. But listen, they do their job and we do ours. And, it actually, it worked out most of the time.
How does Jersey rank amongst other states with narcotics? Do we have more drugs than most states?
Probably because we're in the Northeast, like, we're in the corridor. So, because a lot of what we used to get at the hotels were cars coming up from Virginia. They would stay near the Holland Tunnel in one of those hotels.
One of those
And then
shitty hotels.
when they would get the call, they would go over to Washington Heights. So they had cars. They would have these cars that were rigged. If you put the radio station on, let's say, 98.9. If you put the radio station 98.9 and turn the heater on 3, there would be this thing that would open
A hidden
up.
compartment.
Hidden
Really?
compartment. Where like the heater core in the
Yeah.
car is like a void, and you'd see that compartment come down, and they'd get some heroin in there. And listen, canine dogs are good, man. They smell 800 times better than us, and they would alert right on that spot. And then we knew there was some combination
Sure.
to get that void to open up. You could get like 6 kilos of heroin in there at the time.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What was the most common drug you used to find?
Well, then it was cocaine. We didn't get much heroin. Marijuana we had like 800 kilos one time of cocaine. This guy had
What does that look like?
a lot. I'll tell you what it was. It was a 40-foot Winnebago, and it was backed into the parking spot at the hotel. And we had, information on this through the DEA. And finally, when because sometimes they'll park the car, I park it, I leave the key somewhere, and he comes and picks it up. And He brings it to you, right, to make a little trail. And these guys had this Winnebago, and they had 800 kilos in a false floor. And the reason why we knew it was one of our guys got in the Winnebago and hit his head on the ceiling and said, wait a second, I have a Winnebago and I would never hit my head on the ceiling.
Wow.
And then you call the dogs, they rip up the floor, and they had a bunch of coffee grounds surrounding and they had 800 kilos of cocaine. And then like with something like that, yeah, we would arrest a person, but we're basically turning that over to the feds then too.
Right, because this is
Yeah.
were they cartel related?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were from like out west somewhere.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. I mean, people try. We've seen people, smuggle things in all kinds of ways. And people actually would secrete drugs in their body, And then they got to
Hard to
shit
find.
them out.
Yeah. You gotta wait for them to shit it out.
Yep.
And the dogs are sniffing.
Yeah, I mean, like the false floors, the hidden compartments.
Yeah.
Like I said, like in the other podcast, I worked with people that were like so good at like finding this shit.
Yeah.
Like you remember Daryl, but did you work with Daryl?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Daryl, he was on a stop one time, and he pulled over a car on 80. I was sitting just talking with him. He goes, "All right, come back me up." I'm like, okay. It was a one of those small pickup trucks. He's talking to the guy, and I'm on the other side, and I'm like, we were in our blouses, so it was like cold. This guy is dumping sweat. I was like laughing. I'm going, oh my God, what does he have? Gets the guy out of the car. The guy can't walk. His knees are buckling. And then Daryl's like, yeah, your bed's raised. He goes, what do you have? How much do you have? He goes, and the guy like passed out.
No.
Just locked him up. The guy had like 100 and something kilos, like in the false bottom of the car.
Wow.
Yeah, you're going to jail forever. Or you're turning over people that are gonna kill your family.
Right. So either or.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
But like think about that, like 800. Like, you know how much drugs that is off the street?
Right.
I mean, and
It's a big
like
hit.
these guys were doing that like a lot.
Yeah.
And how much money was a kilo of cocaine going for back then?
Oh, now I don't know.
Then it was
then-
like 60?
Yeah.
60,000 a kilo?
Yeah. Probably
Jeez.
cheaper now, right?
Yeah, probably
and
is
demand.
now.
Yeah.
Well, demand's pretty high around here.
Yeah. And then
sure.
there was the money, we get a lot of people with currency, but they, would lose it
Yeah,
either at the airport or if we stopped them on the highway.
Yeah. Wow, that's interesting you said that. I wonder if cocaine is cheaper now than it was.
I think heroin is what was really expensive then, and now heroin is cheaper.
Now it's dirt
I mean,
cheaper,
now
yeah.
you have horrible things, like fentanyl and stuff. So
Yeah. Did you see any of that or
No.
not?
the
not
one, the
related?
only thing we saw once was this, that stuff, cat. It's like a
Ketamine, K,
Ketamine?
yeah.
special K.
We didn't
or
even
what-
know what it was then. We
Ketamine.
had to call like the FDA.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's a horse tranquilizer.
Right.
Yeah.
But we didn't know that in like 1995.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They use it for like when you have surgery, like anesthesia. You take
Yeah. And some people like chew on it and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. That's
Nuts.
insane.
Yeah.
They do therapy with it now.
Yeah.
Like I'll go to a therapy. I've never done it. You go to a therapy session. You take a little bit of ketamine.
Yeah.
And it helps you like open up your mind and really
my God.
lock in on your
No,
emotions, stuff
no
like that.
thanks.
Yeah.
But I think the problem is you need such a little amount, like a fraction of what you would want your cocaine line to be. And so what happens is like kids will rip a line, think it's cocaine, it's ketamine. You're now this in the K-hole for hours on end. You can't get out of it.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know anything about this, but Joe does.
You read about it on
I
the
read
internet.
about it somewhere.
Joe.
Joe, how much was a kilo of cocaine going for back in the year? 90s? Go for the 90s.
95.
Yeah, 95.
95.
Oh, they gave me exactly 95, 20,000, 30,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Okay. I bet you heroin was 60 then.
Really? That's so interesting. So that is interesting too. You don't see any you didn't see any fentanyl in the cocaine. It was all
No.
pure.
We didn't see much pills. Marijuana we got, big supplies.
when marijuana was
but,
marijuana.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
know?
Just
Now
had a
it's
whole
legal.
yeah. And then now it's all ridiculous.
Now it's all
Yeah.
blown
who
out.
knows what's going on.
Yeah. What, Jake?
50 to 100,000 for heroin.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That was
this
them.
is giving me wholesale price. This is not even like.
Wow.
With the family discount.
Right.
Yeah.
You said wholesale.
With your Trooper Gold card.
right.
Is it BOGO? Is it BOGO?
Yeah. How much heroin can I get? Wow, that's insane. I think that's the
Is there a senior discount?
there might
we
be.
can
There you
get?
go.
What's heroin going for nowadays?
We'll do cocaine first between 25 and.
The FBI would be following him now because
Yeah.
they're
Yeah, right.
Poor
Yeah.
Joe.
25 to 40K for
Oh, you don't even want to do heroin no more. It's 10,000, 25.
See? Wow. How much different.
so interesting.
And then that doesn't even address the strength of it, right?
Right. I'd be curious to know the difference
That
between
and
strength.
cocaine, different strengths.
Well, now it's all stepped on stuff and
Yeah.
different game.
Yeah.
So you are noticing now more so pills and
Probably nowadays more. You see
Yeah.
a lot with pills,
yeah.
I
I wonder why that trend changed.
Oh, easy to manufacture overseas.
Did you guys deal with like a lot of the, like I guess packages coming with drugs from other places, like through customs and stuff?
Yeah, we didn't get involved too much with that, but customs got all that stuff.
Crazy.
Yeah, they used to get a lot of that stuff.
Where are most of the drugs coming from? Where are they coming from?
At the time was Colombia, and then you started seeing Afghanistan pop up with some of the
Really?
heroin stuff. There was like at the time, remember there was like black tar heroin was like
Yeah,
a big
yeah.
thing then.
Well, weren't there some? I had heard that back in the day there were a couple of guys, who they were hearing their names on the wires from Colombia,
Oh,
like the day Like I'm
I
trying
mean,
to think.
like
Of,
troopers.
yeah, like troopers.
Oh yeah, that
Oh,
could be.
really?
Yeah.
Well,
Like
because they had another unit in the state police that only did the cartel, the Columbia cartel.
That was their whole
And they
unit.
knew who they were, and
Yeah.
they knew who they were.
They had a
so
lot
scary.
of wiretaps.
Yeah,
Hearing
imagine
stories
that.
with the cartel, I like
Yeah,
shiver.
Yeah.
yeah,
Again, I mean, like you're, like listen, I give like you a lot of credit, and like these other guys that went like undercover. And listen, I would have heard my name once on the wire, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm done. I'm
out.
okay here.
I'm good. You hear
Yeah,
the
we
kid's
don't need
name or something.
your kids' names, and they're saying it on purpose.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I know you're listening.
So you were narcotics for, you said 10 or so years,
Yeah.
and then was that it? That's when you.
Then I went to the Witness Relocation Unit, which was part of the intelligence unit. So I got to go to the FBI National Academy. It's a very prestigious
Whoa.
leadership program that the FBI runs in Quantico, Virginia. So I got to go there for 11 weeks, and I came back thinking I'd go back to narcotics, and they were like, nah, you got to go to the intelligence bureau. So I was like, okay. I went there, worked for this great guy, Walt Butts, and learned a lot about what intelligence does because they feed the information to investigations, you
Right.
know. And then I went and worked in the Witness Relocation Unit,
Okay.
which was kind of weird. Like I had a bunch of phones, and I would answer. This phone was, I would answer like I was a company, the Benedictus Inc., because I had to give maybe a job reference for one of our relocated witnesses,
Oh.
or something. It was crazy.
So that's just you're working with the guys that are now confessing and
Yeah, so
helping you guys from the inside.
it was myself and another detective, Miguel Cartagena, and we worked for our Lieutenant Don Machuca, and he would have us, sometimes we had to physically take these families and relocate them
Was it normally
and babysit them.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, I had to do a lot of babysitting. Like we would be in like a safe house
Right.
with like a family for months sometimes.
Normally ex-mob guys?
Some,
What was
Mostly.
mostly mob guys?
yeah,
Yeah. Other gangs and stuff like that.
yeah,
Wow. That's a pretty lofty career.
yeah.
And so you didn't then ever go back to like the roads, right?
No. I stayed there, and then I actually was fortunate to be the chief of staff for the colonel when he came. We had gotten a new colonel, Joe Santiago.
Wow.
So I was his chief of staff for about a year, and that was probably the most rewarding part of my career because I learned so much. Because you're exposed to so much in government as well as in the state police.
Right.
Looks good on your resume, Tom.
Yeah.
What did your day in life look like as chief of staff?
Oh, it starts at 4 a.m. and ends at 4 a.m. It's just a lot. You're basically the gatekeeper, for the colonel, and making sure he gets to different meetings, making sure he's briefed on everything. You have to set up a staff, to review things like serious internal affairs, things at the Attorney General's office or the governor's office. I had to oversee the governor's executive protection staff. So there was a lot to it. It was long days, but you're just so energized, and and that's where Junior worked for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Who's Junior?
Emilio Nardone.
Yeah.
He was a trooper that worked for me, and because I had to set up a staff, right? Because the previous colonel, they have their own staff, and then they move on, and so I had to set up staff, and I had some great people, and like Joe Santiago was very smart. He was the police director in Newark at one time too. And he was just really like a smart guy, and he was like, find troopers that are accountants and get them on staff. Find troopers that are attorneys and get them on staff. So he was really good. Somebody like Junior, who was so likable.
Yes.
He was good to have around to help facilitate different things, and he was also one of the drivers, and he's a funny guy, though.
He was.
How'd you know?
We worked together.
Yeah.
So we were troopers together, and then he got snatched up to go there.
Right.
I knew him from, I went to Seton Hall, and he was a wrestler at Seton Hall.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was involved in a lot of sports and alumni, so that's how I knew him.
He
So
was a 2-time wrestling champ
yeah,
in Jersey.
State champ, really?
yeah. So and he was funny.
He's very funny.
I mean, so likable. And I remember, like, the colonel basically took all his stuff from Newark PD, and we had it all in boxes. And he had nothing on the bookshelves. And so I was going to a meeting with the colonel, and I said to Junior, listen, a lot of the colonel's stuff are in these boxes here. Can you put some stuff on the wall so it feels like, home here in his office?
Yeah.
He didn't have anything. And in Newark, he had such a nice office with, plaques and stuff.
Right.
So come back. My office was next to the colonel's. I hear the colonel goes into his office, and I hear the colonel like slam his hands down. And he's like, what the fuck? So I'm thinking, oh my God, what happened? So I run in, and there I turn around, and Junior did a great job hanging pictures, except he had pictures of the colonel's first wife up on the board.
Oh my God.
That's hilarious.
So I was
funny.
like, and he wasn't mad, obviously, the colonel, but I was like, Junior, that's not his wife.
I did on purpose.
He
No,
absolutely.
he was just a
He
kind soul.
bro. He absolutely did it on purpose. There's no way you're gonna tell
I'll never
me.
believe that.
That's so funny. Is that your tie that you two have? Is him?
Why? I knew Ro.
No, because he did some work for us.
I knew
Stops.
Ro from back then, but then throughout the years we've seen each other and stuff like that. And then Ro was a captain, and then she remember the time. I know you're not gonna remember this. You called me and you were so hot in the ass. It was when Fuentes was the colonel.
Okay.
You were a captain.
Okay.
And it was like just post 9/11. It was like maybe 2002, but we were still doing like the bridges and stuff like that. And I had a guy in my squad that was diabetic. And he was supposed to go meet the colonel. And he went into diabetic shock.
Oh.
He drove down 280. He was supposed to meet the colonel by over here, by the Holland Tunnel.
Yeah.
He went into diabetic shock, drove down 280, and he was like passed out. So
Holy
we sent people down to get him and everything else. And the colonel ended up calling him while he was in like diabetic whatever.
Right.
And the kid was like, yeah, how you doing, Colonel?
Oh, I
Do you
remember this. Yes.
And you called me, and I'm going, Captain. And you're like, Steve, it's Ro. And I'm like, all right, Captain, I mean, Ro. Yeah, and I go, he's diabetic. And you're like, what? I go, hey, he's diabetic. He won diabetic shock. You're like, well, fucking, why didn't anybody tell me? I go, I'm kind of telling you right now. Well, the colonel, he's all mad because, and I'm like, all right, I don't know what to tell anybody. The kid, I had guys come out with orange juice. We're like pouring orange juice down his throat.
Yeah.
Then he came around, and I'm like, all right, Dennis, you got to like really apologize to the colonel.
Yeah.
Because he's like really pissed off. And, Rick was like,
Yeah.
he didn't like really get mad, but he was like,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Right.
And like, I'm the guy out there like getting calls. I'm like, I forget who else was another I had like two captains calling me. They're like, what? And then I'm like, I said the same. It was like the same conversation. Yeah, he's diabetic. Well, fucking, how come nobody told me?
Yeah.
I'm like,
I am telling you.
I don't know.
I do remember that.
That's funny. It's funny you guys cross paths.
Yeah.
When did you officially retire?
Well, let's see. After that, I was a captain over in the Emergency Management Bureau. And then I went to the Homeland Security branch to the Special Operations section.
Wow.
And that's where I retired from there.
What was that like?
Oh, it was great. It was a great job. Special Operations is all the cool stuff in the state police, like the Marine Police, the K-9,
Yeah.
aviation.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Teams.
Teams.
There's a lot that goes into the state troopers that I didn't know.
I'm going to get help because I said teams last now. You watch.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Someone will call me.
yeah, I'm surprised your phone's not ringing right now.
We mentioned teams last conversation. Because
Yeah.
I just thought the state troopers were the guys on the road. I didn't know you guys had so many
Teams
different
guys
units.
were great because I use them all the time for witness relocation. I used to have the teams guys with me, like 3 or 4 of them, when we were moving witnesses.
Oh, okay. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
they would have to stay with us all
Yeah.
the time, travel with us. Because, that's what they're trained for. Emergency situations and extractions and things like that. So
Yeah, very cool.
they were great. They were great.
And where are you at now? You're
So now I'm at Doyle Security Services, headquartered in Rockville Center, New York. 20-year company run by a great leader, Mario Doyle. Mostly security guards, like corporate buildings, educational facilities, finance. And what I do is I oversee the protective and consulting services. So that's your executive protection, temporary services, event security, things like that. Threat assessments, vulnerability, some cyber stuff. And so I basically handle all requests that come in from our clients other than a physical security guard in a building.
So you won't be physical security guards in the building?
We do, yeah.
Oh, you do?
But we have people that do that.
Right,
I
right.
do more the executive
I got you.
protection,
Understood.
bodyguard stuff
Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
for our clients.
That's cool.
Yeah, I like doing that.
You've done that stuff.
Well, and then, Ro and I met. After
After I yelled
after
at
I
him,
left the state police, after she yelled at me,
All right.
after she scolded me.
she felt bad.
No, then I got one of my jobs that was, I got to tell you, and it was pretty cool. It was it was working for Sotheby's, and they had like a off-site plate warehouse in Newark where they kept like all this art.
Yeah.
You want to talk about money laundering? That is the biggest money laundering scheme.
You're just protecting all this art.
So I asked the curator that was there. This guy knew everything about art. He brings me upstairs. He's showing me Picasso's. He goes, "See this?" He goes, "It's not the most valuable." He goes, "You want me to show you the most valuable piece of art?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." He brings me into this room, something like almost as big as that wall. It was a painting of a sidewalk with chewing gum stuck on it. Some kid whose daddy had a boatload of money wanted him to become an artist, and he did. All his paintings were either a street with chewing gum, and it was real gum that he chewed, smashed on the. Those pieces of art were going for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No way.
Yeah, it's a money laundering scheme. I'm sorry, bro.
Yeah.
I just have to. I gotta give it up here on.
The detail's over. It's okay.
Yeah, details over. She doesn't work there anymore, so it's okay. But yeah, money laundering scheme.
That's so crazy.
And then we have to talk about our friend, Erin. That's how I got Ro here.
Who's Erin?
Erin Smith. She's the station commander at Homedale Station.
Yeah, good trooper.
Was at the Osprey. She goes, "Oh my God, I saw you on the podcast, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, I'd like to get some like real characters on there, some people that would be really interesting. She goes, "Ro Manghisi." I go, "Holy shit." She goes, "Do you know Ro?" I go, "Yeah, I know her well." She goes, "Call Ro, see if you can get her on there."
Yeah.
And that's how.
Yeah.
So shout out Erin.
Shout out to Erin.
Shout out to Erin Smith.
Was Erin a
Lieutenant
trooper?
Erin Smith.
Lieutenant. Was she a trooper when you were a trooper?
So Erin and I met at I was working a Bruce Springsteen concert, and her and I got detailed to walk around. Then we get detailed to sit with Bruce Springsteen's mom
No way.
and Max Weinstein, the drummer, his mom.
That's
They
crazy.
were at the concert, like on this elevated thing, and we both had to stay there. It was the last concert Bruce did at the Old Meadowlands when he closed it out.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's how Erin and I met.
And
That's
you love
cool.
you love Bruce.
I do. Not
You
as
love Bruce's music.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes. His
Right.
music. Here's to your music.
Here's
Bruce.
the music, Bruce.
Keep singing.
And that's it. Do you know anything else?
All right, now we're sipping. Okay.
You could sip. All right. Well, thank you so much. Very
Oh,
cool
thank
story.
you.
Very different than the stories that you were telling us.
Yes.
And it ties a lot of things together. A lot
Very-
of missing pieces that we had with your
Listen,
stories.
you have a very different career here.
Right.
You have a captain, chief of staff. You have somebody that went to the FBI,
Yeah.
the elite academy.
Yeah.
And now she's, working for a Highline company. And then you have, me and how my career went.
Foot
Just
soldier.
A little different.
That's-
I'm
that's,
I'm a soldier. I'm
You got to
a good
give yourself
soldier.
credit though, being one of the first women to do this.
Yeah, I mean, I feel fortunate. There was a lot of good people I met along the way that helped me in my career and believed in me. So I'm very grateful. You could sit back and talk about all the people that were like the He-Man Woman Haters Club, but I always took them as opportunities. that gave me an opportunity to be better at what I was doing
Yeah.
and to make a difference for people that followed me. To always take care of people.
Yeah, but you were always good and you were always well liked. Like I remember like even, within that whole group of like detectives and stuff, you were very well respected, very well liked. And you didn't like shit on the road guys either when you dealt with us.
Right.
Which sometimes like some of the detectives be like, yeah, get one of those road guns, and it's like, well, wait a minute, buddy.
Yeah.
Thanks.
dirty work.
Thank you.
No, you were top notch.
How many more, like, what do you think the percentages or the ratio of female to male troopers now versus then?
I'm sorry you asked that, but glad you asked that. The numbers are still not as good as they should be. I think nationwide, maybe it's like 10%. And there's some state police agencies that have done a great job in bringing more women in. But, like we said earlier, Jersey's a little different, and we could brag about how great we are. But, we have a residential academy, and that probably does. And we have stricter guidelines to get into the state police. So I think nationwide, the percent maybe is 12, 13%. But there are agencies like Newark and LA and New York that have very high percentages of women. So
Good.
I don't know what they're doing right, what someone else is doing right. But, in 1979, without the internet, they were able to get 1,000 women to take the test, and only 30 of us graduated.
Wow.
So that's like an alarming statistic. But 116 got into the academy. So 1,000 took the test. So,
But that's how hard it is.
116. But even with,
that's
even
crazy.
with the rate, even for mixed classes or all male classes, a very high rate. This was pretty high, but I think there's some classes that have 50% dropout rate because some people can't keep up on the run or shoot.
Right.
Or pass some of the law tests. You got to know 2C law.
Right.
So something can knock you out, and you don't get a second crack.
You
in
don't?
State police. You'd have to come back in
You got to
another
go
class.
come back to the second. You got to come back to another academy class.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know people that made it like almost the whole way and failed the shoot and had to come back. And Oh, I got to give a shout out to cousin Frank Manghisi too. My cousin Frank,
Manghisi.
he's a retired
Great
major.
guy.
Retired major from the state police. A great person.
Very good guy.
Oh, so your whole family was police
Yep,
oriented.
and my brother-in-law, my dad, my uncle, and my nephew RJ is a sergeant at Kane University Police.
All right, and where can they find you on LinkedIn?
Huh?
Where they can find you on LinkedIn?
Or at my house.
Or at your house? Yeah. Go visit Bro Manghisi at her house or on LinkedIn. But that's it for today, everybody. Thank you again for coming on.
Thank you so much.
Like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff, guys. Cheers.